Hey folks, Mike here today with some thoughts here on the Yakuza franchise. If you saw the video last week, I did mention I was going to do a follow-up here immediately after I was recording my final thoughts on Yakuza 6. Now, I'm going to get in a battle here in just a moment. We'll see how that's going to turn out. But anyways, yeah, I played through Yakuza 0 through 6. I'm not including 7 here, or Like a Dragon, just because it's not part of the Kiryu franchise necessarily. It's still a continuation of everything that's been established so far. But, you know, it is a bit of a separate game, and I'll probably talk about it once I get to that game. I'll talk about it relative to the whole franchise, if you will. Wow, this guy is easy. So anyways, before we get too far into it, this video here is done in what they call Premium Adventure mode, and so this is after the campaign main story is over. And so there's not going to be any spoilers, because at most I'm going to be doing some side missions, which will go ahead and do another one of those. So yeah, I played through Yakuza 0, Kiwami 1 and 2, which are remakes of the original 1 and 2. And then Yakuza 3, 4, I think both of those are technically remasters. I think 5 might have been considered a remaster. And then 6, which is what I'm playing now. Most of them all had different subtitles, but I don't necessarily remember them because I've been playing these games over a couple months now. So the important thing to remember here, before I start comparing too many things, you know, Yakuza, the games came out in order of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 0, I believe, and then 6. That's kind of the order. However, we're talking about the remakes, and so it's something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then Kiwami, and then 0, and then Kiwami 1 and 2, and then 6. I believe that's kind of the ordering. So the reason I'm pointing that out is, you know, Yakuza 1 and 2, they're the original games. They still went through quite a bit of change for the remake, and so the whole reason I'm bringing all this up, they do feel a lot more modern, right? They have the new engine. You can tell they've got a lot more experience making these games, and so they bring all that experience back on the older games. And so what happens is then you fall into the thing where Yakuza 3 is a PS3 game, and so to call it a remaster is it's a bit of a stretch, because it's basically the PS3 game with a couple settings to allow you to run the game at a higher resolution on PC. And that's kind of what happened with 4 and 5 to a certain extent as well. I'm not sure if 5 is officially considered a remaster or not in the title, but you know, it gives you an idea of some of the issues I'll talk about going from Kiwami 2 to 3 especially. So, yeah, we'll start from the beginning. Yakuza 0. Very memorable game to me in a lot of ways. You want to start off the series right, you play that game, you'll be super hyped, you'll love it. It's real good. I've had a lot of fun with that one. It's by far and away the most memorable. I think Yakuza 1, Kiwami 1 as well, was pretty good, pretty memorable. And then 2 was a good game. I didn't find it to be necessarily as good as as 0 and 1, but then it also used the newer engine. So Yakuza 0 is kind of the middle of the road engine, Kiwami 1 as well. Kiwami 2 is using the new engine that Yakuza 6 also uses, and so playing that game was, on one hand, I think the game itself is maybe not quite as good. On the other hand, the newer engine did make the game more enjoyable to play, especially with the fact that, you know, you can walk into buildings, you don't have to load. A lot of the in-game cinematics are really nice. There's just a lot of really cool stuff going on. But yeah, this is where my my issues, I suppose, with the franchise start, which is you then get to Yakuza 3, and that's on the PS3 era graphics and all that, and PS3 era controls and gameplay, and you know, if you've played Grand Theft Auto 3 after playing the new ones, you kind of know what I'm talking about in a lot of ways. It does feel, oh, it feels really aged. It doesn't look particularly great. And so it's rough because you get, that game is on the first engine, the old engine, I suppose. I think there's probably an older engine because Kiwami 1 and 2 are like PS2 games, if I remember correctly. But yeah, you're basically going to the older engine that you'll get to play on PC. And so I guess that's worth mentioning too. I don't remember if I mentioned it at the beginning, but I played all of these games on PC with an Xbox One controller. All of these games are on Game Pass, which are the versions that I am playing. With the exception of 0 and Kiwami 1, I believe both of those I played the Steam version, because I happen to have it on Steam instead. But yeah, you know, not only do you have like a downgrade in tech and gameplay and feel and all of that, the other problem I have with 3 is that it is the weakest game. It's a very, very slow build-up. Some of the things they set up in that game for future games is interesting, though. But at the same time, yeah, it's... Ooh, that one's a bit of a slog. Yakuza 4 is definitely better. You get to meet some interesting people. I'm kind of forgetting exactly what happened in 4. 3 and 4 are both kind of weaker games, I've found. And so because of that, I'm having a bit of a hard time remembering some of the specifics. And then you have Yakuza 5. That was a hell of a long game. Like, oh, that was over 30 hours, I believe, was my playtime. It's been a while. So not only is it a long game, it feels like 4 different games with the way they did it. And oh yeah, I remember 4 now. I remember 4 because they really did that thing where you're playing as different characters, you're getting different stories, and you get to see how all those stories come together at the end, how they intertwine with each other. So yeah, they did a pretty good job with that, and I think that's kind of a problem I had with 5 as well, is that it did it a little bit too much. You know, the game was really long. The fact that I spread it out over super long period of time as well really didn't help, unfortunately. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think 6 was a nice, you know, a nice finale, if you will. Maybe not quite as memorable in some ways. Yeah, I say that as someone who literally just beat it not even 20 minutes ago, right? I just recorded the video from last week, but I think parts of this game definitely will be memorable, but maybe not quite as impactful as 0, for instance, had, or Kiwami 1 even. yeah, that's kind of just overall thoughts on all the games. One of the things I really like about the franchise overall is you do get to meet a lot of characters. There are a ton of characters. A lot of them, you know, from Yakuza 0 on, there are characters that you meet there that will be throughout the franchise. That will be there throughout the franchise. And at the same time, they're not really worried about getting rid of anyone specifically either, right? You've got main characters that you're spending the whole story with. They seem like the key person to the entire franchise. You spend the whole game with them, and then they have no they don't mind necessarily getting rid of them near the end for story reasons. And it's not one of those like they get rid of them for the impact, but like, hey, they're trying to make it kind of real, you know. This kind of stuff happens, and yeah, it makes those moments even more impactful, especially with in the earlier games when they do that. So yeah, I'm letting this run through to give you a bit of an idea of what some of the side stuff looks like. You know, this is a character that he dates from way back in the franchise, and here we are on one of the final games, and still here kicking around, other new people and things coming in all together, and yeah, it's nice to have touches like this, you know, throwbacks, and even the side characters and stuff still being a thing. So yeah, I think not only are the characters obviously a real important part of the game, and not only is it nice what they've done with them, I think also how everything is sequential, right? Yakuza 0 is a bit of a prequel, so it happens like 10 years before the rest of the franchise, but like practically every game is set about a year from each other. So you know, you have Kiwami 1, then a year later, a year and a half later, 2 years later, whatever, you know, the events of Kiwami 2, like Yakuza 3, 4, 5, 6. So they all happen within a certain time span. So now in Yakuza 6 here, a lot of people call you an old guy because you really are. You really are an old guy at this point. Maybe not as old as the Pocket Circuit Fighter. He's getting pretty up there, but you know, you're getting old nonetheless. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anything else. Ah yes, the ghosts. We can go and do that. Yeah, I like these games overall. I like that they're not afraid of doing some silly stuff here and there. Right, Kiryu's kind of a goof in a lot of ways. Where are they? Okay. Sometimes people just standing around like that are let's deal with that guy. Can I find him? Yeah. This pickpocket guy has been popping up a few times. Yeah, I like how they have a lot of different side missions and just activities to do, and as the games progress, you know, as you work your way through the franchise, the later games have more and more stuff, more and more things to do. You know, they're better done. The reason I didn't spend a whole lot of time doing him is a combination of, you know, I don't want to put a ton of time in this game when I don't need to. In the sense that, like, I could spend a ton of time doing the side stuff, but that's not necessarily what interests me the most, right? I like to experience the story. I like to progress. I like to to do that stuff. And while the side things are kind of fun, I figure I'm going to probably spend more time doing the side stuff in Yakuza 7, or Yakuza Like a Dragon, so technically 7. And so at least with that game, I'll be able to put in the time, enjoy the side stuff the most, because hey, it's the latest game in the franchise, and it's the one I should probably spend the most time in, beyond just experiencing the story, which is mainly why I play these games in the first place. Ah yes, let's do another one of these. We'll go deal with him in just a bit. I want to try and do the ghosts up here. So with that said, what are my overall thoughts? I think some of these games are a little tough to skip, right? Like if you can play Yakuza. Well, okay, I'll put it this way: you want to play the first 3 games anyways. They're really good. You could definitely skip 3, and then skipping 4 maybe. But then when you get up to like 5 and 6, it's kind of tough to skip those games. Oh, I have to be here at. I thought about it for half a second. That I probably have to be there at night, but I kept going instead of turning around. So we'll do that side one and wrap it up there instead. I don't want to. Oh, let's fight these guys. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else there is, but can't really think of too much else to add, really. You know, oh yeah, so some of the earlier games had a lot of weird technical issues, which I talked about in the respective videos. And I'm happy to say these later games don't seem to be suffering from the same problems, which is nice. Like, I think the biggest issue I've had in the later games really is like if the controller dies, or I plug in the mouse, because I have a wireless mouse and I have to plug it in to charge, which means I'm plugging the adapter and plugging the mouse in to make it a wired mouse. Just the fact that I'm changing input devices will cause the game to lock up for, I don't know, solid 15-30 seconds. So you think the game's crashed because it's not responding, but it's just something that happens when USB devices change for whatever reason. It's bizarre, but yeah, that's how it works. I'm sure there's a side thing up here. So, you know, there's a lot of little fun bits and pieces like this. I had to run. Probably had to run longer. Get a bit more of a lead up. The soccer ball is weird too. Also, I hear the cat. I wonder if that soccer ball is something you're supposed to interact with. No! Try that again. 3rd time's a try. If I don't get it on 3rd time... Oh, come on. If I don't get it on the 3rd try, I'm just going to abandon this. The joys of playing the game live while recording some thoughts here. But anyways... Yeah, I don't know if I have too much... Okay, that's what I figured. Oh, there's also a ladder right there. So that's that key. Cool. We'll go get that. Of course, I think the other thing too, if I peek here, the ladder is probably just a half a ladder. Oh no, it's a full ladder. Yeah. These are fun games. Ultimately, that's kind of all I have to say. They're really fun games. They're well made. I think they're worth trying out. You know, that's the fun part about Game Pass. You can give them a try, right? You have a fantastic service with a lot of games available on there, and they're available on console as well, which is another thing. That looks like one of these cats, maybe. Oh, he doesn't have stripes though. Oh, but he likes that. So yeah, that gives you an idea of some of the side stuff, which I might not have done a ton in other videos, just because I was a little time constrained and don't want to spend too much time doing this kind of stuff. But you know, highly recommend this franchise. I will have a bit of a break before getting into Yakuza Like a Dragon, which is technically the 7th. Yes, it is a continuation of these games, and so, you know, I don't have to play it now. And it did come to Game Pass a little bit later, so I'm not too worried about it leaving the service either anytime soon, since it was only added recently. Yeah, I'll point that out as well. If you are intending to try this out on Game Pass, you might have a bit of a limited time to get into it. These games have been on Game Pass for nearly a year. I don't really know how long games tend to be on there, but generally it's like a year minimum. I've only had the service for 2 years, so I've not necessarily kept track of that either. Some of these things were already on there. Yeah, I think we'll end this here. Hope you guys enjoyed these videos so far. You know, I've been just kind of winging it for the most part. And yeah, I can't wait to give myself a little bit of a change of pace here and run through a bunch of other little games and get right back into it with Yakuza 7 next, or Like a Dragon, I suppose, which looks real good. Looks like they've gone kind of silly in that one. So yeah, with that said, we'll end it here, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Probably not now, but sometime soon in the future.